Your salary probably doesn't even cover my monthly spa budget. The words hang in the courtroom like poison gas. Judge Frank Caprio's face goes completely still. Dead silent. The kind of silence where even breathing feels too loud. What happens in the next 47 minutes will become the most talked about court case in Providence history. And the woman who just insulted one of America's most beloved judges? She has no idea what's coming. Before we reveal how Judge Caprio delivers absolute justice to someone who thought wealth made her untouchable, smash that subscribe button right now because All Rise is racing towards 700,000 subscribers. This story will remind you why respect matters more than money and why some people need to learn the hard way. If you believe arrogance deserves consequences, drop a comment below. You're about to witness something incredible. Here's what you need to understand. Judge Caprio has seen everything in 40 years on the bench. Drug dealers, thieves, violent criminals. But the woman standing in front of him today, she might be the worst kind of defendant he's ever faced. Not because of what she did, but because of who she thinks she is. Monday morning, 10:15 a.m. Providence Municipal Court is packed. The usual crowd, working people, students, elderly folks clutching traffic tickets, everyone waiting their turn for justice. Then she walks in. Her name is Diana Whitmore, age 48, real estate investor, self-made millionaire. At least that's what she tells everyone. The Chanel suit fits like it was painted on, probably was custom-made. Red bottom heels click against the tile floor, each step announcing, "I'm better than you." Her sunglasses cost more than most people's rent. She doesn't take them off when she enters. The bailiff notices immediately. "Ma'am, you'll need to remove your sunglasses in court." Diana stops walking, turns slowly, looks at him like he's something stuck to her shoe. "Excuse me?" Her voice drips with disdain. The bailiff, a 20-year veteran named Marcus, keeps his tone professional. "Court policy, ma'am. No sunglasses inside the courtroom." Diana sighs. Long, dramatic, annoyed. She removes the sunglasses with deliberate slowness, folds them, tucks them into her $3,000 Birkin bag. Happy now? She doesn't wait for an answer. Marcus exchanges a glance with the court clerk. This is going to be one of those cases. Judge Caprio is reviewing files at the bench. He hasn't looked up yet. Doesn't know what's walking toward him. The bailiff calls the case. Case number 24-7392, the state versus Diana Whitmore. Charge, reckless driving and failure to appear. Diana approaches the defendant's podium. She doesn't look nervous. She looks bored. Judge Caprio finally looks up. That warm smile that has made him famous spreads across his face. "Good morning, Ms. Whitmore." Diana doesn't smile back. Doesn't say good morning. Just stands there, waiting. Like she's the one doing him a favor by showing up. Judge Caprio's smile fades slightly, but his voice stays kind. "Ms. Whitmore, you're here regarding a reckless driving citation, but I also see you failed to appear for your original court date 3 months ago. Can you explain why?" Diana shifts her weight. One hand goes to her hip. The classic pose of someone about to say something they think is reasonable but absolutely isn't. "Your Honor, I run multiple businesses. I have investors to meet, properties to manage, deals to close. I simply didn't have time to sit in a courtroom over something so trivial." The word trivial echoes. Several people in the gallery turn to look at each other. Did she really just say that? Judge Caprio's expression hardens just a fraction. "Ms. Whitmore, appearing in court when summoned is not optional. It's a legal obligation." Diana waves her hand, dismissive, like she's brushing away a fly. "I understand that now. My attorney was supposed to handle it, but apparently there was some miscommunication. Regardless, I'm here now, so can we just pay the fine and move on? I have a lunch meeting at noon. She checks her watch. A Cartier. Rose gold. The gesture is not lost on anyone in the courtroom. Judge Caprio leans back in his chair, studies her for a long moment. Ms. Whitmore, let's review the original citation. You were clocked going 87 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. Is that correct? Diana shrugs. Actually shrugs. If that's what the ticket says. I don't really remember. I drive a lot. You were also weaving between lanes without signaling. According to Officer Chen's report, you nearly caused 2 accidents. Nearly isn't the same as actually causing, Your Honor. Her tone suggests she thinks she's making an excellent legal argument. The prosecutor, a young woman named Sarah Kim, stands up. Your Honor, may I approach? Judge Caprio nods. Sarah walks forward with a file folder, hands it to the judge. Your Honor, Ms. Whitmore has 6 prior speeding violations in the past 4 years. She's also had 2 other failures to appear, both resolved through her attorney. Additionally, the circumstances of this particular incident have some aggravating factors that weren't included in the original citation. Judge Caprio opens the folder. His eyebrows rise. Ms. Whitmore, is it true that when Officer Chen pulled you over, you told him, and I'm reading from his report here, do you know who I am? I pay more in taxes than you make in a year? Diana's jaw tightens. I may have said something like that. I was frustrated. It felt like harassment. Harassment. Judge Caprio repeats the word slowly, like he's tasting it, finding it bitter. Ms. Whitmore, Officer Chen was doing his job, protecting public safety. That's not harassment. Diana's eyes flash with irritation. Your Honor, with all due respect, I think there's a disconnect here. In my world, time is money. Every minute I spend dealing with this costs me thousands of dollars. Officer Chen could have given me a warning. Instead, he chose to waste everyone's time because I assume he has a quota to fill. The courtroom reacts. Quiet gasps. Head shakes. A man in a work uniform mutters something under his breath. Judge Caprio's voice drops lower. The warmth is gone now. Ms. Whitmore, Officer Chen doesn't have a quota. He has a duty to keep the roads safe, and suggesting otherwise is both inaccurate and disrespectful. Diana crosses her arms. I'm just being honest, Your Honor. Everyone knows how this works. Traffic tickets are revenue generators. I've probably paid this city $20,000 in fines over the years. At what point does my contribution buy me a little consideration? The silence that follows is crushing. Even Diana seems to sense she's crossed a line. But she doesn't back down. Can't back down. Her ego won't let her. Judge Caprio sets down the file, carefully, deliberately. Ms. Whitmore, let me make something very clear. Your wealth does not buy you consideration in this courtroom. It doesn't buy you leniency. It certainly doesn't buy you the right to endanger others and then complain about the consequences. Diana's face flushes red. I wasn't endangering anyone. You were going 87 in a 45 zone. You were weaving through traffic. You nearly caused 2 accidents. How is that not endangering people? Because I'm an excellent driver, Your Honor. I've been driving for 30 years. I know my limits. I know what I can handle. Judge Caprio leans forward. Ms. Whitmore, the speed limit isn't a suggestion. It applies to excellent drivers and terrible drivers equally. The law doesn't care about your self-assessment. Diana's voice rises. The law. The law. Your Honor, let's be realistic. I'm not some teenager joyriding. I'm a businesswoman trying to get from point A to point B efficiently. If the speed limits were set reasonably, this wouldn't even be an issue. Are you seriously arguing that the speed limit is the problem? I'm saying that arbitrary numbers on signs don't reflect reality. Modern cars are safer, roads are better, drivers are more experienced, yet we're still following limits set decades ago. Judge Caprio's expression darkens. Ms. Whitmore, those limits exist because physics doesn't care about your business schedule. At 87 miles per hour, if something goes wrong, you don't have time to react. Neither does anyone else. But nothing went wrong. This time. Exactly, this time. Every other time. Nothing has ever gone wrong because I'm careful. The prosecutor stands again. Your Honor, if I may, the aggravating circumstances I mentioned. Ms. Whitmore's reckless driving occurred on Hope Street near the hospital district. The time was 4:45 p.m. on a Thursday. Heavy traffic, pedestrians crossing, medical staff leaving shifts. She was weaving between cars in an active hospital zone. Judge Caprio's eyes snapped to Diana. Is this true? Diana's confidence wavers for the first time. I don't remember the exact location. Hope Street, near Rhode Island Hospital. Does that refresh your memory? Maybe. I drive that route frequently. At 87 miles per hour, in a hospital zone, during rush hour. Diana's voice gets defensive. I was late for a meeting. You were late for a meeting. Judge Caprio repeats it slowly, letting each word land. Ms. Whitmore, do you understand what happens in that hospital? People fighting for their lives, families praying for miracles, doctors performing emergency surgeries, and you were racing past it at 87 miles per hour because you were late for a meeting? Your Honor, you're being dramatic. The words are out before she can stop them. The courtroom erupts, not with noise, with sharp intakes of breath, with shocked faces, with the collective understanding that Diana Whitmore just made a catastrophic mistake. Judge Caprio's face transforms. The kindness that defines him vanishes completely. His voice, when it comes, is ice. I'm being dramatic. 4 words, each one a hammer blow. Ms. Whitmore, I want you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. He pauses. The courtroom is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Last month, a 9-year-old girl was brought to that hospital, hit by a car while crossing the street. The driver was going 62 in a 40 zone. Not as fast as you were going, but fast enough. That little girl's name was Emma Vasquez. She loved drawing, wanted to be an artist, past tense, because she didn't survive. Diana's face goes pale. I don't see how that's relevant to my case. You don't see how it's relevant. Judge Caprio stands. When Judge Frank Caprio stands, everyone pays attention. Ms. Whitmore, it's relevant because Emma's mother sat in this very courtroom 2 weeks ago. She testified at the sentencing hearing for the driver who killed her daughter. And do you know what that driver said? He said he was late for work. He said the speed limit was too low. He said he was a good driver who just made one mistake. The judge's voice rises. One mistake. One moment of prioritizing his schedule over safety. And a 9-year-old girl died. Her mother will never see her graduate, never walk her down the aisle, never meet her grandchildren. All because someone like you decided that getting somewhere fast was more important than human life. Diana tries to speak. Your Honor, I understand, but I didn't hit anyone. This is completely different. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, the only difference between you and that driver is luck. Pure dumb luck that no one was in the wrong place when you came barreling through. I object to being compared to someone who killed a child. Then stop acting like someone who doesn't care if they do. The courtroom is stunned. Judge Caprio rarely raises his voice, but when he does, it carries the weight of 4 decades of seeing preventable tragedies. But what happens next will make what's already happened look mild. Because Judge Caprio is about to do something he's only done 3 times in his entire career. And Diana Whitmore is about to learn that some judges have reached their limit. Subscribe to All Rise right now if you believe reckless drivers deserve serious consequences, because what Judge Caprio uncovers next will prove that Diana's arrogance goes even deeper than anyone imagined. The prosecutor speaks again, her voice careful. Your Honor,
There's more. When we ran Ms. Whitmore's driving record more thoroughly, we found something concerning. She hands another document to the judge. Judge Caprio reads it. His jaw clenches. Ms. Whitmore, this record shows that in the past 3 years, you've had not 6, but 11 traffic violations. 6 were in Rhode Island. 5 were in Massachusetts. All but 2 were for excessive speeding. 1 was for running a red light. Another was for illegal passing in a no-passing zone. Diana shrugs. I drive a lot for work. It's inevitable that I'll get tickets sometimes. 11 times in 3 years is not inevitable, Ms. Whitmore. It's a pattern of someone who repeatedly chooses to break the law because they don't think it applies to them. Your Honor, I pay every fine immediately. I don't dodge responsibility. Paying a fine isn't taking responsibility. It's just the cost of doing business for you. You treat traffic laws like parking meters, feed them money and move on. Diana's frustration boils over. What do you want from me? I'm here. I'm answering your questions. I'll pay whatever fine you impose. But can we please stop pretending this is some moral crisis? It's a speeding ticket. Judge Caprio's eyes narrow. Ms. Whitmore, what do I do for a living? The question catches her off guard. You're a judge. Yes, I'm a judge. I sit in this courtroom 6 days a week. I see thousands of cases every year. And do you know what I see most often? Diana doesn't answer. I see people who are genuinely sorry. People who made mistakes and want to do better. People who are struggling but trying. And then, occasionally, I see someone like you. Someone like me? Someone who doesn't think the rules apply to them. Someone who measures their worth in dollars and everyone else's in cents. Someone who looks at a court of law and sees an inconvenience instead of a necessity. Diana's voice turns cold. Your Honor, I don't appreciate being lectured like a child. I'm a successful businesswoman. I employ 47 people. I've built a real estate portfolio worth over $15 million from nothing. I donate to charities, I pay my taxes, I contribute to society. So forgive me if I don't feel like I deserve to be treated like a criminal for driving a little fast. A little fast? You were going almost double the speed limit. In a car that's designed to go fast safely. Do you know what I drive, Your Honor? A Mercedes S-Class. It has every safety feature available. Collision detection, automatic braking, lane assist. That car is safer at 87 than most vehicles are at 60. Judge Caprio shakes his head. Ms. Whitmore, the other cars on the road don't have those features. The pedestrians crossing the street definitely don't. Your car's safety systems protect you. They don't protect the people you might hit. But I didn't hit anyone. Yet. The single word hangs in the air. Diana's composure cracks further. This is ridiculous. You're treating me like I'm a danger to society when I'm just trying to live my life. Your life at 87 miles per hour. Yes, my fast life, my busy life, my life that actually matters to more people than just me. The courtroom gasps. Even Diana seems to realize she's gone too far, but she doesn't apologize, doesn't take it back, just stands there, defiant. Judge Caprio's voice drops to barely above a whisper. Your life matters more than other people's lives. That's what you just said. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Diana's face flushes red with anger. I meant that I have responsibilities. People depend on me. My time has value. More value than sitting in traffic going 45 when the road is clear and safe for 80. The road is never safe for 80 in a 45 zone, Ms. Whitmore. According to who? You? A man who probably hasn't driven faster than 60 in his entire life? The insult lands. The courtroom reacts immediately. Angry murmurs, shocked faces. But Judge Caprio doesn't react. Not yet. He just stares at Diana with an expression that makes seasoned court officers nervous. Ms. Whitmore, do you know why I became a judge? Diana looks confused by the question. No. When I was 23 years old, my younger brother was killed by a drunk driver. He was crossing the street, had the walk signal, did everything right. And a man who thought he was fine to drive plowed through a red light at 70 miles per hour. My brother died instantly. The courtroom is silent. Diana's face goes white. The driver survived. Barely. When he got to court, you know what he said? He said he was a good driver. Said he'd driven drunk dozens of times without incident. Said the speed limit was too low anyway. Said his time was valuable and he needed to get home. Judge Caprio's voice trembles slightly. I watched my mother cry for months. I watched my father stop smiling. I watched our family break apart from grief. All because one person decided that their convenience mattered more than everyone else's safety. He pauses. So, I became a judge. To make sure that people like that driver understand that their choices have consequences. That the law exists to protect us from people who think they're special. Diana's voice is barely audible. I'm sorry about your brother, Your Honor, but I'm not a drunk driver. No, you're worse. The words hit like a slap. The drunk driver at least had the excuse of impaired judgment. You're completely sober, completely aware, and you still choose to endanger others. That makes you more culpable, not less. Diana's anger returns. This is personal for you. You should recuse yourself. Personal? Ms. Whitmore, every case in this courtroom is personal. Every defendant is someone's son or daughter. Every victim is someone's family member. That's what you don't understand. You think your business matters more than human connections. It doesn't. I think we're done here. Diana's voice is sharp. I want to speak to your supervisor. Judge Caprio actually laughs, but there's no humor in it. My supervisor. Ms. Whitmore, I'm an elected judge. The voters are my supervisors, and something tells me they'd agree with what I'm about to do. Diana's confidence finally breaks. What are you about to do? I'm about to show you what absolute justice looks like. Judge Caprio picks up his gavel, but he doesn't strike it yet. Ms. Whitmore, you came into this courtroom with no remorse, no accountability, no understanding of why what you did was dangerous. You've insulted a police officer. You've insulted this court. You've suggested that your wealth and position exempt you from the law. And worst of all, you've made it clear that you'll do this again the moment you walk out of here. He picks up the file. The base fine for reckless driving in Rhode Island is $500. However, I have discretion to impose up to $1,000 for egregious violations. Given your speed, your location, your attitude, and your extensive record, I'm imposing the maximum fine. $1,000. Diana barely reacts. $1,000 is nothing to her. Additionally, you failed to appear at your original court date. That's contempt of court. That's another $500. Still nothing. Diana's expression says she expected worse. You have 11 traffic violations in 3 years. That demonstrates a pattern of reckless behavior. Therefore, I'm ordering you to complete a 60-hour defensive driving course. Not online, in person. With other drivers who need to relearn how to operate a vehicle safely. Diana's eyes narrow. Now she's irritated. Furthermore, your license is suspended for 90 days, effective immediately. What? Diana's shout echoes through the courtroom. You can't do that! I need to drive for work! You should have thought about that before you accumulated 11 violations. This is insane! I'll appeal this immediately! That's your right. Judge Caprio's voice is calm. But until the appeal is decided, the suspension stands. Diana's face contorts with rage. Do you have any idea what this will cost me? I have property showings, investor meetings. I can't just take Ubers everywhere like some teenager. Then I suggest you explore public transportation, or ask one of those 47 employees you mentioned.
I'm sure they'd be happy to help their employer who values them so much. The sarcasm is subtle but cutting. Diana slams her hand on the podium. This is a joke. You're punishing me because I hurt your feelings. This isn't justice. It's revenge. Judge Caprio stands again. Ms. Whitmore, I'm not finished. Diana's mouth snaps shut. In addition to the fines, the driving course, and the license suspension, I'm ordering 100 hours of community service. 100 hours? At Rhode Island Hospital, specifically in the trauma unit. Diana's face goes from red to purple. You want me to work in a hospital? I want you to see what happens when people drive recklessly. I want you to watch doctors fight to save lives. I want you to meet families who are praying their loved ones survive. I want you to understand that every time you get behind a wheel going 87 miles per hour, you're gambling with outcomes that end up in that trauma unit. I'm not a nurse. I can't work in a hospital. You won't be providing medical care. You'll be helping with administrative tasks, cleaning, whatever they need. But you'll be there, and you'll see. Diana's voice turns venomous. This is cruel and unusual punishment. You're abusing your power. Judge Caprio's eyes flash. Abusing my power would be letting you walk out of here with nothing but a fine you can pay with pocket change. Abusing my power would be allowing you to continue endangering lives because you're too arrogant to see the problem. What I'm doing is using every tool the law gives me to protect my community from someone who has proven, repeatedly, that they don't care about anyone but themselves. He pauses. Let me be clear about something, Ms. Whitmore. When you complete your 90-day suspension, when you finish your driving course, when you've served your community service hours, you'll appear before me again for a review hearing. And if I hear that you've learned nothing, if I see any indication that you're still the same person standing here today, I'll find more consequences. I'll find creative ways to make sure you understand that this community is not your personal highway. Diana's voice shakes with rage. You can't keep punishing me forever. I can if you keep breaking the law. This is tyranny. No, Ms. Whitmore, this is accountability. Something you've successfully avoided until today. Diana looks around the courtroom desperately, like she's searching for someone to help her, but every face she sees is either neutral or satisfied. No one is coming to her rescue. She turns back to Judge Caprio, and then she says it. The thing that will make this case legendary. Your salary probably doesn't even cover my monthly spa budget. The courtroom explodes, not with gasps this time, with shouting. How dare she? Throw her out. Contempt. The bailiff moves forward. Judge Caprio raises his hand. Everyone, please, quiet. The room settles, but the energy has changed. Even people who were neutral before are now openly hostile to Diana. Judge Caprio's face is stone. Ms. Whitmore, did you just insult my income? Diana's chin lifts, defiant to the end. I stated a fact. You make what, $90,000 a year? Maybe $100,000? I spend more than that on personal maintenance annually. We're not the same. You're right. Judge Caprio's voice is soft, dangerous. We're not the same. He leans forward. I make $95,000 a year as a municipal judge. And do you know what I do with that money? I support my family. I contribute to my community. I live modestly and happily. My worth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the trust this community has placed in me, in the fairness I bring to this bench, in the lives I've hopefully made better through compassionate judgment. He stands again, picks up his gavel. You make more than me. You spend more than me. You think that makes you better than me. But let me tell you what I see when I look at you, Ms. Whitmore. The courtroom holds its breath. I see someone who has everything and appreciates nothing. Someone who measures human value in net worth.
someone who thinks wealth exempts them from decency, and someone who will leave this courtroom today understanding that money, no matter how much you have, cannot buy you respect, cannot buy you immunity, cannot buy you out of the consequences you've earned. He raises the gavel. For your contempt of this court, I'm adding an additional 50 hours to your community service, bringing your total to 150 hours. I'm also extending your license suspension to 120 days, 4 full months. Diana's mouth opens, but no sound comes out. And Ms. Whitmore? If you say one more insulting word in my courtroom, I'll hold you in direct contempt and you'll spend the next 30 days in jail wondering if your spa budget was worth it. The gavel falls. The sound echoes like thunder. Court is adjourned. Bailiff, please escort Ms. Whitmore to the clerk's office to process her fines and schedule her community service. Diana just stands there, frozen, her perfect outfit suddenly looking less powerful, her expensive accessories suddenly meaningless. Marcus the bailiff approaches gently. Ma'am, this way, please. Diana walks toward the exit, her heels clicking, but this time each step sounds different, not like confidence, like defeat. As she reaches the door, a voice calls out from the gallery. Your Honor? Judge Caprio looks up. A woman in her 60s stands. She's wearing a hospital ID badge. Yes, ma'am? I'm Dr. Patricia Morrison. I'm the head of the trauma unit at Rhode Island Hospital. I just want to say thank you. We'll make sure Ms. Whitmore's community service is educational. The slight emphasis on educational draws quiet chuckles from the gallery. Judge Caprio nods. Thank you, Dr. Morrison. I trust she'll be in good hands. Diana walks out. The door closes behind her, and the courtroom erupts in applause. Real applause, sustained, enthusiastic. Judge Caprio doesn't stop it this time. He just nods, acknowledging that sometimes justice feels good. Sometimes holding the powerful accountable restores faith in the system. Subscribe to All Rise. If this story reminded you that wealth cannot shield you from consequences and that real justice sees past bank accounts straight to character, Judge Frank Caprio just proved that in his courtroom, arrogance and money mean nothing and respect means everything. What happened to Diana Whitmore after this hearing became a story that spread through Providence like wildfire, because the absolute justice Judge Caprio delivered didn't end when she walked out of that courtroom. It was only beginning. Diana's 120-day license suspension meant she actually had to experience what most people in her city experienced every day: public buses, ride shares, walking. For 4 months, the woman who thought her time was more valuable than everyone else's had to operate on everyone else's schedule. The 150 hours of community service at Rhode Island Hospital changed her in ways she never expected. Dr. Morrison made sure Diana worked directly with patient advocates, families waiting for news about loved ones injured in car accidents, children recovering from pedestrian strikes. One day, about 6 weeks into her service, Diana was filing paperwork in the trauma unit when a code blue was called. A teenager had been brought in. Car accident. The driver had been speeding. The teen was a passenger. Diana watched through a window as doctors worked frantically, watched the family arrive, watched the mother collapse when they were told the injuries were critical. That night, Diana went home and cried for the first time in years. The defensive driving course was taught by a retired police officer who had spent 30 years working accident scenes. He didn't coddle. He showed pictures, videos, real consequences of real reckless driving. Diana sat in a room with people who had made similar mistakes. Some had hurt people. All were there because they needed to understand what they'd risked. 4 months later, Diana appeared before Judge Caprio for her review hearing. She walked in wearing simple business casual. No designer labels, no jewelry, no attitude. Ms. Whitmore, Judge Caprio's voice was neutral. You've completed all requirements. How did you find the experience? Diana took a deep breath. Your Honor, when I left this courtroom 4 months ago, I was furious. I thought you were punishing me unfairly. I thought you were on a power trip. I thought I was the victim. She paused. I was wrong about everything. The hospital showed me what my choices almost caused. The driving course taught me what I never bothered to learn. And losing my license forced me to slow down in every way. I want to apologize. To you, to Officer Chen, to everyone in this community I endangered. Judge Caprio studied her carefully. Ms. Whitmore, do you understand now why I did what I did? Yes, Your Honor. You were trying to save my life, and probably others. I see that now. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. Your license is hereby reinstated. But understand this, if you appear before me again for reckless driving, there will be no leniency, no second chances. I understand, Your Honor, and thank you for caring enough to make me face what I was doing. Diana left the courtroom that day a different person. She sold her Mercedes, bought a modest sedan, started driving like she actually cared about getting there alive rather than getting there fast. She also started a scholarship fund for children of traffic accident victims, funded trauma counseling at Rhode Island Hospital, used her real estate connections to create affordable housing near public transportation. Not because a judge ordered her to, because she finally understood that money without humanity is just paper, and that being successful means nothing if you're not also decent. Judge Frank Caprio watched her leave that second time and allowed himself a small smile. Because this is what absolute justice looks like. Not just punishment. Transformation. Not just consequences. Understanding. Hit that subscribe button for All Rise. If you believe the justice system should focus on making people better, not just making them pay, drop a comment about what justice means to you. And remember, the next time you're tempted to think you're above the law, there's a courtroom somewhere with a judge who will remind you that we're all equal under it. This was Diana Whitmore's story. From arrogance to awakening. From contempt to compassion. From someone who thought wealth made her special to someone who learned that character defines your worth. And it all happened because one judge refused to let money mean more than morality. Because Judge Caprio delivered absolute justice, the kind that doesn't just punish, the kind that transforms. Where are you watching from? Comment your city if this story reminded you why we need judges who see people, not bank accounts. And if you believe respect should be given to those who earn it through service, not those who buy it with cash, let me know in the comments below. This is what happens when absolute justice meets absolute arrogance. And why courtrooms remain the last place where your net worth means nothing and your character means everything.